Hi, welcome back to the workshop for episode 20 of Great Guitar Build Off 2023. And in this episode, we're going to be returning to the headstock to finish off that highly controversial logo. Okay, so in the last episode, we started work on getting this inlay done on the headstock. Now, I'd like to say it got a bit of a mixed review in the comments section, but I'd be lying. I think it was pretty universally hated. However, it's a little bit too late to go back, so I'm going to crack on with it. I think there's two possibilities here. The first one is, once I get the mother of pearl inlaid and I get this properly down to the depth it should be, and it's looking a bit more cohesive and finished, it'll actually look okay. Also, this is quite a small element of the whole package, and once we put the whole thing together, I don't think it's going to be quite so glaring. The tuners will distract from it, the strings will distract from it, possibly have a string tree here, which will also kind of help it blend into the background a little bit. But I'm still hoping that it's going to look okay. At the end of the day, if we didn't try new things, we wouldn't be going anywhere. We'd just be doing the same thing over and over again. And that doesn't really make for good entertainment or good viewing for you guys. So we have to try these things. I was, however, really pleased to see the number of negative comments that I got. And that might sound a little bit counterintuitive, but stick with me. I would hate to think that the comment sections of my videos are just some kind of echo chamber where everyone tells each other how wonderful everything is. I found it really heartwarming that people were comfortable enough to say they didn't like something. I thought that was brilliant, and I think it's a sign that we've got a healthy little community going on there. No one got offended, and I think everybody knew that the criticisms were meant with the best of intentions. So no offence taken. I understand exactly where you're coming from. I'm still hoping I can pull this off and make it look special. So to that end, we need to get some mother of pearl out and start cutting. And what we're going to do is, we've got this mother of pearl blank. It is quite a nice one. There's quite a bit going on there. And I've printed out a little paper template that we can cut this from. And it's just big enough, I should be able to get potentially two. If not two logos, I'll get something else out of that bottom half. Now, I've done a few of these in the past and they've all generally gone okay, apart from one, which was quite famously the subject of a shorts video I did that ended up in about 6 pieces. And the reason that that happened was the template that I stuck onto it didn't adhere properly and it came off. So I restuck it, but I restuck it slightly out of position, which meant all the little joining bits on the logo were far too thin and it just broke to pieces. So to make sure that this one doesn't do the same, I've got a little bit of acetone there and I'm just going to soak that in there for a few seconds just to make sure that there's no grease or anything on there. And just give it a dry off. And I'm going to put some gloves on so I don't touch this with my fingers, just so I don't get any more grease onto it. Now this will be stuck very well to the mother of pearl, but it won't be a problem to get off. Once we've done all the cutting, we can just simply drop it in some acetone and that will loosen the bond between the super glue and the mother of pearl. Just hold that in position and I'm just going to put some super glue over everything. And we'll just give that a few minutes to dry up. Okay, that's all nice and dry now. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drill out the little holes in the O's. That'll be my first task. And what I'm going to use for that, first off, is a little engineering centre drill. Hopefully this will wobble less and move less and I'll get a nice accurate cut. I'll start it with that, and then I've got a 1.5mm drill bit that I'll just go through. So I'm just going to set this up on this little block and get them cut. All of this work is going to be done with my magnifying visor on. My eyes aren't what they used to be. So we'll just start it with this centre drill. If you are ever doing some really accurate drilling, I'd suggest investing a few pounds in a set of these. You can get them relatively cheaply from Amazon or eBay, places like that, but they do make your life a little bit easier in what could be a stressful situation, and that's worth its weight in gold. So with that centre established, it's a lot easier to drill through with the standard drill bit. Now for me, it makes a lot of sense to cut those out while I've still got all of the meat on this blank, so that's going to be my next move. But I'm also thinking it might be a good idea if I put another hole in the top of this C here, because that is an awful lot of cutting, and it's been a very nerve-wracking experience. And I might even put one in the bottom, just to make my life that little bit easier. Okay, with that bit done, we can now get the saw out. And to cut this out, I've just got a pretty standard jeweler's saw with a very, very fine blade in. It's a 0/9, whatever that means. And I've got a great big packet of them. There's over 100 there. I will break them as we're going through this. It's inevitable. Hopefully we don't break too many. And to facilitate that, I've of course got my little block of wax, which I will be using to lubricate the blade. So hopefully we don't break too many. It's not a problem, they're not massively expensive, it's just that it's a complete faff having to change the blade all the time. Okay, so first thing I need to do is just loosen up my blade, get it out. Now these cut on the downstroke, so we need to make sure the blade's in the right way. We'll feed it through that first hole, get it back into the saw, and these tighten up just by putting a bit of pressure on and then tightening the screw like that, and then we just get it into the bench pin and start cutting. And once you get going, it does actually cut relatively quickly, but it's just one of those jobs that you just need to accept. It's going to take a little while. So settle in, gather your thoughts. And enjoy it as much as you can. And that's that first dough done already. So we'll get it off the saw and we can crack on with the other one. carried on a little bit off camera, and I've cut away this big bit from the bottom now, so that can go out the way. I've still got a few little bits to clean up on the underside of there, and then we can turn it round and start working our way back and get the rest of it cut out. So far so good. I'm about 45-50 minutes in, and I think I'm on my 15th blade. I got a real good start. The first one seemed to last forever. I thought I was on a real roll with it, and then that went, and they've just been breaking at regular intervals ever since. But we're getting there, and I'm quite happy with the way things are going. So that's the bottom cleaned out. Next I'm going to start working my way along the top, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go kind of along the high points of those letters until I meet there, and just cut that piece out, and then it's just a case of going in and taking the little bits between the letters out, and hopefully if we continue to go how we're going, it'll be all right. Okay, so we're getting through it. We just need to do these kind of top sections now, just clean those out. Hopefully it won't take too much longer, and then we can crack on with getting it inlaid into the bit of wenge. That should be interesting. Okay, and there we have it, all cut out. There's a few of these that are a little bit on the thin side, but I think we've managed to get away with it. So the next stage now is just to get some tiny little diamond files out and just clean it up a little bit. And I have to say, on the whole, I'm very happy with this. I think it's gone well. And then with that done, we'll see if we can get this template off it. I think that's going to have a little bit of a soak in some acetone. It's a little bit stuck. Okay, so next up we need to inlay this into this. And I'm not sure how easy that's going to be. I think it could be quite tricky. I've never actually inlaid something into such a small piece of material before. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is put that to one side. And just get this stuck down. Just to keep that from moving about too much. And then I need to put just the tiniest of little dabs of super glue onto the back of here, just to hold it temporarily. Just while we scribe around it. And we'll just take our trusty scalpel and just start working our way around it. So that's hopefully all scribe round now. Quite difficult to get into the smaller spaces. You can't really see that well where the scribe lines are. So I'm going to try something now which I've not seen done before, but you never know, it might actually work. And I've got some of this pumice powder that I've used for making grain filler before, and it's a really fine white powder. And I'm just going to try rubbing a little bit onto here to see if that will better guide me for where I want to be recessing this out. And actually, I think that's worked quite well. Okay, so I've got this set up on my bench pin now. I've just fastened this extra piece of board to it, and I've made a little frame from some of the offcuts of Wenge, which are kind of roughly the same height. And that's just going to give me something to ride the base of my Dremel on. And I've got a tiny little cutter there. It's kind of, I don't know, it's less than 1 millimetre. That's all we need to know. So I'm just going to start very, very gently working my way through this and just see if we can get this routed out without causing too many problems. Okay, so that's that finally routed out. It took ages. There are 1 or 2 gaps in here. This Wenge is extremely brittle, and 1 or 2 areas have just kind of snapped off as I've been going around them, but I'm not particularly bothered. I think we can fix them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start loading this up with a bit of Wenge sawdust. And just fill up all those little gaps like that, and then with a bit of the old extra thin super glue. Now that looks very dark at the moment, but I'm fairly confident that once we rub all that off, we'll get a nice consistent colour. So we'll just give that a minute to dry off. We'll give it a little sand down and make sure that we've got all of the little nooks and crannies. And there's still a little bit of work to do on that, but I think it is actually looking really, really nice now. So we will get that off. Stuck down amazingly well. Brilliant. There we go. So with that done, I can do a little bit of cleaning up, make a bit of space, and we'll get the central section of the guitar back on the bench and see if we can get this stuck in. Okay, so nothing more for it but to get this glued in and to see if it actually works or not. Okay, and there it is, all cleaned up. I'm actually quite happy with that. There's a little bit of touching in work to do maybe just to make it a little bit better, but on the whole I think it's gone really, really well. I think it does kind of tie it all together a little bit better now. It's got the logo in, it kind of reveals what the point of the little patch was, and I think that does work. It is worth repeating that we haven't got any hardware on the headstock and we haven't put the finish on, and I think the finish is the thing that's going to tie this all together. So we're going to have to be a little bit patient to see what this looks like when it's finally done, but on the whole I'm happy with it, and I think it's come on a long way from where we were last week. However, that's enough for the headstock for the time being. We're going to be heading back to the body for the next job, but that's going to be for the next episode as well. So as always, don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.